obviously there'll be times out in the course I need to go over a tree or I need to hit one high into a front flag. But for the majority of it, you know, the higher it gets, the more control you lose, the more spin you gain. You could hit a great shot in that'll spin off, or you know, it might curve a little bit because you didn't feel the wind above the trees.
Okay, mate, so when you're preparing for a tournament, every player's got a process that is quite individual and unique to them. Now, let's say you're playing in a tour event today. How would you go about, let's say you've got this many golf balls and you're preparing yourself for a round before you go out. What's the normal process that you would follow? As in, what type of shots would you start off with? What clubs would you use? And I think this is really insightful for a lot of players, is because most, if you're a recreational golfer, they just rock up to the first tee, have a couple of swings like this, don't really know what they're trying to focus on, and they step up and get frustrated when they hit a poor first shot. And a lot of that obviously comes down to your habits and routines, even outside of the individual shot itself, but more so when it comes to how to prepare yourself and your body, and also your mind as well, which is very underrated in regards to the importance of a pre-shot routine before you go out and play. So I want, from your perspective, I want you to walk us through exactly what you would do if you're out preparing for a tournament.
Okay, so yeah, if I just rolled in, I'd start off with my 52 degree.
Okay. I
just like to start with that purely because obviously we're gonna limber up a little bit first, just get the feel of contact really. And I don't like to use my 60 or my 56, I think there's too much loft on there.
Okay.
So, so if you were to slightly misstrike one early and catch it a bit fat, you'd probably feel bad about yourself for the rest of the day. So
just on that, it's amazing, even on a professional range. And I think a lot of amateur golfers don't really have a true perspective of how many shots a pro actually misses, right? Because they only see the highlights packages.
Yeah.
If you go and watch a range of professionals and they're warming up the first couple of shots, very often you'll see them flub the first couple of wedges.
Yeah.
Right? It's like every single day you wake up, you might have slept a little bit different. Maybe your hand-eye coordination, your depth perception's a little bit out, especially if you've been traveling, got a bit of jet lag.
Yeah, so different grass as well is a big one.
Different grasses is massive.
Yeah.
So are you standing up here? This is almost you just trying to go, okay, where is the ball?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I'll get in 52, as I said, have a couple practice swings, but you know, some grasses are sandy and others, some are drier, and you just really don't know. But yeah, I'll you know, hit a couple of short pitch shots like that, probably only travel 30 or 40 meters, just to get a nice, until I can get that nice crisp noise.
Now, when you're hitting these shots, you don't really have a focus on target whatsoever, right?
Nah,
it's more so feel through the hands and trying to get a feel for the grass.
Yeah, feel for the grass, feel for the center and the really nice strike. But a lot of the time, I'm actually paying a lot of attention the first couple of swings to which part of my body feels like it's kind of missing out on the strike, whether it might be, you know, my foot might not feel engaged with the ground, my left arm might feel a little bit loose, you know, my back might not feel like it's in a great spot. So I'll generally do a couple of chip shots early, just to get a good feel for where my body's at, and then I can kind of work through the warm-ups.
Yeah, that's quite amazing to hear, because they're really only conversations. We've had multiple of them today. But the way that a professional is so in tune with the way that their body feels and the club feels and the ball off the face, there really isn't any technical analysis going on at all, is it? It's all feel-based.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm warming up for a tournament today, I'm ready to go the tournament-wise. I've generally practiced all my shots that I'm going to need, feeling pretty good about the way that I'm hitting it. It's just a matter of almost building a little bit of confidence early, and making sure that I'm only hitting shots that I'm confident with on the range. I don't want to come here and practice a shot that I can't hit right before I'm about to go and tee off.
Which is the opposite to what you see most amateur golfers do.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Most people probably roll in, practice what they did with their coach last week for 10 balls, and then go out on the course and try and do that. I think with us, you know, we'll get all that under control before we need to go and play, and then it's a matter of just rocking up and playing and hitting the shots that you do feel comfortable with.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Okay, so you hit a couple of wedges. Let's hit one more of those for me.
Yep. Yeah, so I've kind of progressed a little bit. I'll start off with 30 or 40 meters, and then I'll build up to kind of, you know, 70 or 80, that probably was. And then I'm not hitting any full shots with my wedge early, because you can get that poppy flight, and, you know, I really like to see them trudge nice early and feel like I'm under control of the ball flight.
And the contact on that sounded great. So we're going to move on from that club there, but how many of those would you generally hit?
Those shots there, 5 or 6.
Okay.
And then I'll pretty much go straight into a 9-iron or an 8-iron. And once again, I'm not hitting anything completely full just yet. I'm still limbering up, so you know, this is probably going 20 or 30 metres shorter than a full shot here with this 9-iron.
Once again, just trying to feel strike and...
Yeah, I'm just feeling exactly what I felt with my gap wedge then, but I'm just hitting it again just a little bit harder. And just making sure I like the flight. I want it to be down and penetrating. And then...
Is that because that's a flight that you're comfortable and confident with when you step up to the first hole?
Yeah.
And let's say you're hitting into a green and you're just trying to find your feet, kind of like an opening batsman, just trying to block a couple so they can get their eye in,
yeah, exactly.
build their confidence, and then progress from there, rather than just trying to go all out and smash a full 9 and 8. Yeah,
I mean, I hit very, very few 100% shots on the course when I play. It's much, you know, flighting, looking for the correct flights, and that's something that I figure if I go through that in the warm up and I'm feeling confident with the specific shots that I'm going to go out and play, then I'm ready to attack the course.
Yeah, and that's another fantastic point right there. The professional golfer generally shifts his trajectory considerably more often than they would their actual curvature. Right?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I'm never trying to curve it more than 10 meters, but my window changes dramatically.
Yeah. So when we're looking at, when Haydn's talking about windows here, he's talking more about the initial launch off the golf ball relative to the visual of what he knows that stock club would come out.
Yep.
Right. So if you, for example, hit a full shot there, let's do that for me.
Yep.
Just for the purposes of this. Sure, Haydn can hit it way up into the atmosphere like that, and that's probably peaking at, I don't know, 30 meters or something similar like that, but your comfortable and confident ball flight that you're looking for is probably only really about 22, 23 meters.
Yeah, I'd say 2/3 of that is general. I mean, obviously there'll be times out in the course I need to go over a tree or I need to hit one high into a front flag, but for the majority of it, you know, the higher it gets, the more control you lose, the more spin you gain. You could hit a great shot in that'll spin off, or you know, it might curve a little bit because you didn't feel the wind above the trees. So the flatter and more penetrating you can keep things while still under controls. Yeah, what we're all trying to do.
Yeah. So you hit a couple of those. Now, when do you start moving on to, if at all, start trying to look at targets on the range?
Yeah, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. So I'm still, hitting I'm probably nearly up to 90% now with these. So I'll hit, you know, maybe 6 or 7 with this 9 or 8. I change depending on what I'm feeling for the day. So that was, once again, really nice. That's probably the flight I'm looking for there in terms of trajectory and penetration.
That was pure.
That was good. So it's probably not a specific number of shots. It's till I hit one I'm really happy with, then I'll change. So
with your friends out on tour, do you find that's common, or everyone's very individual in their approach? Like you might get someone who's a little bit more OCD and they go, I have to use all odd numbers, even numbers, X amount of balls. What do you find that the majority of your mates out on tour do?
Yeah, I think everyone's entirely different, to be honest.
Yeah.
Some people will hit every club. I've seen guys hit every club till they hit one good shot with it, and then they change. So it might be one shot with that club, it might be 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone's completely different.
Okay, great. So now we've moved on to what club we've got here?
We've got 7 now. So I'm really close to a full swing. So I'll probably go for one more or a full swing here. But I'm not ripping it. It's just like a dead stock shot. And pretty happy with that. So now I've hit one at 100%. It flew pretty nice. Now I'll start looking at a couple of shapes.
Okay. So you do try and purposely hit a draw and a fade in your warm-ups?
Yeah, just a couple. And nothing crazy either. Just 5-10 meters, just because I want to see kind of which shot's flying better for me today, because it changes every day. So, you know, some days you might rock up and you might be pulling them a little bit, but they're flying really nice, and you can just aim a little bit right for that day and pull them on target.
And that's another great point that you bring up there, is most players who aren't aware of the process that a professional goes through, they just assume that they hit these perfectly bullet straight or rifle-like shots all the time at their targets. But I know as well as you do is you step up to the golf ball, and sometimes just for the life of you can't hit the ball flight that you know that you hit last week. Yeah. It just feels slightly different.
Yeah, even day to day as well in the tournaments. You know, you might be hitting beautiful high draws Thursday, Friday, and then you rock up Saturday morning and you can't turn the ball over. So you just got to be prepared to change that depending on the day. And it doesn't, it doesn't vary a lot, but it varies enough to affect being on line with the pin or on the edge of the green. So it's something you've got to be wary of.
The game that you're playing, right? That's a matter of making the cut, missing the cut, first, second, third, and that means a lot at professional level.
Yep, exactly.
So let's hit one more of those, and then let's talk about the next step after that. Beautiful. Awesome flight. So many of them are just like starting straight on line.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I'm really happy with those. So once I've gone through the majority of my lower clubs and I get into the longer irons, I'm pretty quick through the longer irons. With the, we've just hit a 7 iron, so I'll generally go up by 2s, depending if I start with a wedge, I'll go wedge 8-6. If I'll start with a 9, it'll be a 9-7-5.
Yep. Just because there's enough of a variance between those clubs.
Yep.
Right? So you feel like if you, for example, go out and hit a whole bunch of 7s and just go to a 6, it's almost wasted energy, right?
Yep.
You know, your objective here is to not stand here and hit 80 balls to try and loosen up, because your nervous system takes a beating when you do that.
Yep.
And if you think about how many full shots you actually play when you're on the golf course, if you're having 30 putts and you're shooting 70, you're only hitting 40 shots. And of those, probably a quarter to nearly a half are actually probably within 100 meters.
Yep. And pitches and chips, and so you're probably hitting, I'd be guessing, about max 25 full shots a round, or 30, you know, at max 30.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exactly right. Just going up by 2, just because there's enough of a difference for it to be different. But you know, it's not too big of a gap where things can change drastically. So you'd like to think that the flight, you know, from a 7 now into a 5 remains pretty much the same. Which is, once again, the exact same I was hitting with the 9. And as I said, I go through my long irons fairly quickly.
Yeah.
So it might only be 2 of these.
Yep.
If I'm happy with the way they fly. If I'm not, then I can hit a couple more, but that one was really good.
Awesome, mate.
And again, so that's enough of the 5 iron for me now.
So you're feeling loose up, you feel like you got your hand-eye sorted.
Yep.
Divots look good, launch is good, ball flight's good, feeling confident. So then you go up to, what do we got now?
3 iron now.
Okay.
And I'm generally going to hit this club probably off a tee, more so than anything today, or if I'm going out to play. So this one for me needs to be a bit of a stronger flight. I definitely don't want to see it up in the air too much.
Yeah.
So it might be back to kind of 85, 90% just to see that trajectory again that I like.
Yeah.
And see it fly through that window.
Okay. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, a little blocky, but the flight was pretty much what I was chasing.
Bit of a fairway finder when you need it.
So we'll go one more, try to do the same thing, but try get that a little bit more online. So I'm going to need to feel like I probably pulled this a little bit compared to that first one.
Yeah, love that.
And that was a bit better.
Mate, that's awesome. That's awesome. So you've got those, you've got your fairway finder. We get into the woods?
Yep. Yeah, we get into the woods. And similar to the 3 iron and the 5 iron, it's not many. I'll generally hit a couple just to try and get my flight down pat, and then finish with a couple of really hard ones just to make sure that my body's ready to go.
Yeah.
And then